What's up guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about Assassin's Creed Shadows and where I think it went right and where I think it went wrong. Just to preface this, I enjoyed the game quite a bit. Now, that's not to say that this is the best Assassin's Creed game I've ever played. It's not the worst Assassin's Creed game I've ever played, but you know, this is just going to be my thoughts and kind of the basis I'm ranking it off of. So yeah, and I want to start off the video saying I think this game was really fun, really well made, despite the problems, but I do have several issues with them, and I think I'm gonna go do the negatives first and then the positives second. So yeah, let's start off with the negatives. So first off, I think that this game was made to be a Nawe story, and Yasuke was kind of second in thought process behind the story, who was the most important, you know, all that fun stuff. Because I found myself caring way more about Nawe's adventure, kind of her personal journey, way more than I did for Yasuke's personal journey. Now, I will say that Yasuke at the end of the story has a really good arc that makes a lot of sense as to why we pull for him, as to why his character is important. But I don't think that it was at the front of their minds when they were making this, because you know, Nawe is the assassin, the actual assassin for once, and Yasuke is just kind of the hack and slash, as you're seeing gameplay of it right here. He's the hack and slash character that you can play as if you don't want to be all stealthy. Now, 99% of the time, I would choose to play as Nawe, just because she was more fun to play, in my opinion. But I would lie if I would say that playing as Yasuke, I felt like I could go into any castle I wanted to and just take down goons with impunity. Now, let's talk about the story itself. It's hard for me to get invested in a story when it feels like things don't matter. And what I mean by this is the acting makes it feel like death and the importance of things is not, you know, it's not as important as when, you know, when somebody dies in here that's crucial to the characters, it isn't treated with the same gravity that it should be treated with. It just kind of feels like, oh, they died, that sucks, I'm going to get over it in, you know, 15, 20 seconds, just because I'm going to go fight the bad guys. Compare this with a Ghost of Tsushima, for example, where everything gets treated with the gravity that you would expect it to. My entire clan is dead, and my uncle has been captured by the Mongols. It's treated with such a high level of importance and respect and gravity that I don't think Assassin's Creed Shadows was able to capture, you know, despite being pretty much the same subject matter. And I really think that that's unfortunate, considering, you know, that these two games are similar in 99% of the ways. Now, that's another thing too, is that the tone of these games is so different, you know, between Assassin's Creed Shadows and between Ghost of Tsushima. Like, the unfortunate aspect of this game coming after GOT is that the only frame of reference I have for how a samurai game should be, or how an ancient Japan game should be, is that game. And the unfortunate part of playing this after playing GOT is that I went into every mission and everything like that expecting this to be similar to Ghost of Tsushima in its gravity, in its weight, in its appearance, in its gameplay, and it's really not. Now, again, I think they did Nawe really well. Her story made sense, but it's just the feeling of like, that's it, came across many times. And you know, when I finished the story, I kind of felt like I wanted more. And maybe that's the point of DLC, maybe it's not, I'm not too sure, but I just kind of felt like it was unsatisfying. You know, like Ghost of Tsushima, you go through this long journey with Jin and his variants of, he wants to be a perfect samurai for his uncle, and he wants to, kind of free his land, and he's got all these people he's got to help, and all this different stuff, and in here it just kind of feels like there's something missing, and I really can't put my finger on why. But with Ghost of Tsushima, I felt that satisfying conclusion of, oh, I did this, I set out to free my mission, and in the process, all this other stuff happened. I can't tell you what transformation took place from the beginning of the story to the end of the story for Naoe and for Yasuke. And I think that's my biggest issue with this game, is that the character didn't transform. And the whole story didn't matter because my characters were already the way they were. Naoe starts off wanting revenge for her father who was killed at the hands of the Shinbaku. Yasuke wants revenge for the people who killed his Lord Master Oda Nobunaga. Jin, on the other hand, starts off his story as a pure-blooded samurai who would never spit in the face of tradition. Things have to be done a certain way. And in the process of trying to free his country from the Mongols, he transforms into something bigger than himself, a symbol, and kind of backtracks on his beliefs as a samurai, because to get shit done, you have to change and you have to adapt to their tactics. And I think that's the biggest problem here. Now, what did I like about the game? I really enjoyed the fact that we had an assassin in the game. I enjoyed that this game gave you the option to play as either Naoe, an assassin, choose your kind of type of gameplay experience. Do you want to be a big slasher like Yasuke? Do you want to be stealthy and swift like Naoe? These things that we don't normally get to see in an Assassin's Creed game in this modern era. It's normally one or the other. We got to see in this game. And we got to understand the reason behind Naoe's kind of, initiation into the Assassin's Guild, and she kind of got to build her own league, and she got to assemble the people that she wanted to. And I think that's a really fun and unique part of the story, is her becoming the leader of an Assassin's Guild herself in Japan, trying to help the people around her. I also think the way that the traversal was done in this game was okay. I enjoyed the grappling hook a lot. It really adds a lot of depth to the gameplay. It adds a cool change. I like the fact that Yasuke is not able to really do the things that Naoe can, because it makes you play a different style when you play those two different characters. I do think that, again, the acting and the things that Ghost of Tsushima did well was just the weight and the kind of feeling of this matters. And, although I enjoyed the game a lot and it's a lot of fun and I recommend it if you want a decent Assassin's Creed game, I would not recommend this over Ghost of Tsushima in any way possible. I thought the gameplay looked a bit odd. The lighting was a bit weird. I didn't think some of the set pieces were as nice as they could have been. I enjoyed spelunking the castles, but I always do in all these Assassin's Creed games. I just feel like overall, this game never could have succeeded coming after Ghost of Tsushima, and that really, really sucks. Again, there's not really a point in this game where I really, really felt attached to these characters. At the end of the game, which I just played, I was like, okay, this is kind of cool, but, and I would hate that these characters died, but I don't feel the need or the attachment to these characters that I really feel like I should, that I felt with Jin and with, all the other characters from Ghost of Tsushima. I also feel like there was a weird, intro sequence to this game that never gets explored again. And there's a lot of storylines that just never get resolved, that just kind of go unanswered. And it's just kind of like, what's the point? We knew that the ending was always going to be that the heroes come out on top. That's just kind of how it goes in this game. And I don't know, it just kind of feels hollow and empty, and yeah, it really, really makes you kind of wonder what this game would have been like if it was just a Naoe game or just a Yasuke game. Now what I'm going to do is add music and clips here, and you tell me which one has more heart, more soul, more everything, and you tell me what you think, because I know I feel a certain way, and I know you might feel the same way as well.
Themselves.
With poison? A gift you gave to our enemy.
I had to stop you from throwing away our people's lives.
You have no honor.
And you are a slave to it.
No! Let them suffer. Let them die in pain.
Fine. We have what we came for.
Now there's this really great fight here with Nunakaru that I'm showing you right now that kind of, after Yasuke finds the people that were, oppressing him, and there's this great cutscene that I cut out just in case you want to play the game for yourself and haven't seen it yet, kind of really gives you an explanation as to why Yasuke is fighting. You understand his motivation now. And it comes at like 49 hours into the game. And it's just like, why did it take this long to get to this point where we understand what Yasuke is fighting for? We understand he's fighting for the greater good. That's fine. That's, whatever. All these good characters are. But like, what is his motivation? We don't learn that until the 49th hour. And it's like, why did we wait so long to get behind one of the main characters' motivation for even going on this entire journey? Like, it's just so weird, the storytelling that they decided to hold off on. And like, in Ghost of Tsushima, you learn immediately why Jin is the way he is. What has gone on in his life to make him be a samurai, and a strict samurai at that. Yasuke, we don't know. We know that we get the cutscene at the beginning of the game that he was brought over by the Portuguese, that Lord Nobunaga kind of freed him from that and kind of let him be his own person. And then that's it until this moment right here. And it's just like baffling, because you want to know what happened to this character. You want to be invested in this character, but you can't, because they don't give you any backstory other than, yeah, he's been around for a little while and everybody knows him and he's this infamous samurai. Why? We don't get shown or told. It's just baffling to me that we have this AAA title, which could have just pretty much done what Ghost of Tsushima did. Changed the characters up, pretty much done everything else, and been, perfectly fine with it. And we just don't get that. And, even Naoe herself feels a little shallow, because her whole motivation is revenge for her father, who was killed at the hands of the Shadow organization that we have in every game. And she really doesn't grow from that. She just is like, I want revenge, and she gets revenge, and she finds family. I mean, is there any change from point A to point B? No. I think that's where these games have gone wrong in the past couple of years, is that these characters are not dynamic characters. They're static characters, and that means they just don't change at all. And I don't know. I've been rambling for a while here, and it's mostly about negatives. And I don't want this to be all negative, but it's just my thoughts. Again, I really enjoyed this game, and it just kind of sucks that this game had to follow Ghost of Tsushima just because of how good that game was. So I don't know. Maybe in the DLC they'll rectify these issues, but I just had to talk about it. So anyway, thanks for watching. I appreciate all your support. And until next time, we'll talk to you later. Peace.